for the sponsor.
Yes, we do. We have bookkeep.com. So you guys are going to be super excited to see the tools that Ruth and her team have built for us accounting professionals. So they are a developer that has actually built tools just for us. We love that. We love when the tools are just for us. And then also a big shout out to our Champagne level sponsor, Ray Networks. We have a lovely slide for them as well.
That's true. That's true. So I'll go ahead and get started about who we are. So I'm Liz Scott, and I'm like many of you. I'm a practitioner and have an accounting firm that focuses on helping small businesses and their bookkeeping and accounting needs. And I love integrations, which is why we're doing the Appy Hour. And there's always ever growing and ever changing needs for apps. And so I love sharing that with you. So that is exactly why we're here and what I do.
Awesome.
What about you?
Well, how about me? So my lifeblood is helping everybody. So that's how that's what I love to do. I actually had a really cool call today. I can't tell you with who, but I was talking to an app developer that is building a Zapier integration. I'm so excited about it, but I can't say anything. So super excited about it. So everybody's going to be, the whole world is going to be super excited.
Appy Hour wants to give a special thank you to our Champagne sponsor, Right Networks, the leading cloud hosting provider for accounting professionals. Using Right Networks as a single hosting provider for business critical applications allows seamless integrations between systems and provides a centralized point of support with a team that has extensive knowledge of accounting workflows. The Right Networks cloud combines the power of QuickBooks Desktop with the flexibility, security, and accessibility of the cloud. Right Networks host over 250 applications with QuickBooks Desktop in the cloud, along with add-on productivity tools that can make you sure that you're always on. QuickBooks, and how do we want to see it? And so how do we want to automate our bookkeeping and a lot of those integrations that we need as accountants to have in our bookkeeping in order to reconcile and be able to, for our small businesses to be able to see in their accounting, to be able to have good quality reports, but we might not need all of the data. So being able to automate the data, this is a really great tool for that. So we're thankful and happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Happy to be here.
And with that said, we'd like to introduce you.
Okay, thanks. I'm Ruth, and my co-founder is Jason Richardson, who is listening in actually, so he might chime in. There he is. Yeah, so we are Bookkeep, and Jason was the founder actually at Shopkeep, which is a point of sale system. They have about 20,000 customers now, and the company is probably worth like $300 million. But, and I was the CFO there, so that's how we met, and we were there, you know, I was there for 2 or 3 years. And when we stepped away from Shopkeep, we kind of got together and dug into some of the bookkeeping space. And my background was I've been a CFO for several tech startups here in New York. Buffer, some of you might have heard of Buffer, social media platform, and RotoQL and Elevest and Signpost. And I also have a little bit of a corporate background. But anyways, I'm the finance side of things, and Jason is the tech side of things. He loves building apps and loves solving problems. And he also is an entrepreneur. He owns Green Grape grocery store and a wine shop. And he had some of consulting services background as well. So we teamed up and we started out as a bookkeeping company. And then we found all these pain points of, oh, this doesn't really work well in QuickBooks, or that is too much. So, you know, Jason being the developer that he is, he says, why don't we build this? So we went ahead and built some software that I think are really cool that can help a lot of other bookkeepers. That's why we're here.
I think that's magic. So that's exactly what Heather and I are all about. So it's the accounting and it's the developing coming together. And it's like you said, there's a little bit of magic that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I
love that.
It's like magic sauce.
I think the best stuff happens when accountants and developers get together, for sure.
Yeah, that sometimes it's hard to find that combination.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when...
You know why, though? I have a theory.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. It's because accountants, we're kind of introverts and we talk our own little language. And then developers, they're kind of introverts too, and they talk their own little language. And so we're over here and they're over there. And it's like we both share a lot of the similarities and commonalities in the personalities, but we just don't turn our heads to look at each other. So that's all that I think it is, because you know, look at Jason. He's looking at you on that screen. He's like, hey, I'm coming to get you. I'm going to design an app.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, accounting function typically is the last thing that you get, you know, people pay attention to, right? In any company. And if you have a bookkeeping company, then it's like, oh, I need a developer. I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I wish I could. I wish I could. You know, I can't wait. That's exactly why you're here. And that's, you know, let's get to some agenda. Heather, you wanna
Of course, yeah. So we welcomed you. We're going to make apps really work for you. So we're going to dig in and look at how do you create integrations that are going to make your job easier. So we're going to talk about when should you bring data in, how should you bring data in, and then how do you set up processes so that you can validate that data and know that you can rely on it. So super excited about the content that we have today, and I'm super excited to see Ruth's presentation as well, because I think it's going to blow a lot of minds today. Very excited. And then we have a cool thing that we did this month. So no, it's okay. And then, yeah.
I got excited.
I know. Let's get into the meat of the session.
You don't have to tell me twice. I'm there.
All right, so let's make apps really work for you. So, you know, what I hear all the time, and Liz, I know you hear this too when we're out on the road and talking to our fellow accounting professionals, is that they want to implement apps and then they get that app hooked up and then they end up with a lot of garbage in their accounting system. Or I've heard so many times, you know, this is supposed to make my life easier, but it's just made it more complicated and more difficult. So we wanted to focus on this episode about how do you evaluate a process, how do you implement apps and multiple apps oftentimes to make sure that they're really working for you and get that going. So we're going to dig into the meat of that.
I love this visualization here that you created.
So common misconception, right? The more data, the better, right? The more data that we have to analyze and slice and dice and look at a zillion different ways, the better for us, right? We want to get all the data. I want all the data, Liz, all the data in my QuickBooks.
And that's just not true.
It's just not true. So if you want to advance to the next slide, this is really, I love this image on the next slide because it really shows us, I mean, we want that golden nugget. We want that data, sure, we want the power behind the apps that we're using, we need that. But why do we need to have all of that data in all the systems that we use? Really what we're looking for is finding that golden nugget in the systems, you know, like an e-commerce site or an inventory app. We want to find that golden nugget that's going to give us the financial information that's going to go over to our QuickBooks so that we can give our clients reliable and complete reports that are going to help them to run their business better, right? So really that's what it's all about. And so what I see a lot is that people hook up apps to their QuickBooks and they think they need to have all of the information from all of these different places going into QuickBooks. And really all that does is it makes it more complicated and more difficult to find things and to create useful reports.
I think you nailed it. So more is not better. More is just, it's clunky, it slows down our QuickBooks. And for me, whenever I'm talking to my clients and they're like, yeah, but I need it all there. You know, the majority of the time that's not true. And just because a lot of these apps out there say, well, we have a integration with QuickBooks, I'm sure that the chat is going to go, yes. It doesn't mean that it's a good one. It doesn't mean that it's the right connection to use. And so, you know, we have to be really mindful about what it is that we want to bring into QuickBooks. And we don't want to just clunk up our QuickBooks, because what we end up finding is running reports then becomes really, really slow. And we have to start saying, hey, we have to narrow down the amount of data that we can pull a report for, because it can't pull up a large amount of data in QuickBooks, quickly, if we've got thousands and thousands of small transactions coming over, or large transactions, lots of them for each day. So
Definitely.
golden nuggets, Heather, I love it.
Golden nuggets. We want those golden nuggets of data to put into our accounting system, for sure.
I love it.
So you want to start with the end in mind. So the end in mind for us accounting, we need meaningful reporting. We need meaningful reporting so that our clients, we and our clients can, with a click of a button, pull up the reports that are going to help us to advise our clients to become more profitable, to maximize their cash flow, to grow, or really achieve any of the goals that they've set for themselves for their company. We want minimal data entry, right? We don't want to spend all day entering keying data into an accounting system, especially into multiple places. That's time is money. Especially in this day and age where it's so competitive because of the technology that we have. If you are not streamlining your processes, you are so far behind your competition. So you have to do that. And then keeping that breadcrumb mentality. And the breadcrumb mentality, and I told Liz and Ruth this yesterday, that I actually went on Google Docs. I'm like, I don't know if that's the right term. I know breadcrumbing now is like a thing that's not well upon now. It has something to do with like dating, like, how we have ghosting? Well, now there's something called breadcrumbing, and it's like when you lead somebody on, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Okay, well, we want you to lead.
No, what we want you to do is we want you to lead a trail back to the data. So
nobody's trying to date the data.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we want to leave a breadcrumb to the data. So when we have a report and we have summary data in our financial system, our accounting system, we need to have a breadcrumb back to where did we get these numbers? And it needs to be easy to find it. We don't want to be sitting there, trying to dig through tons and tons of data to figure out where did that number come from? So you've got to start with all of these three components in mind before you even, go in, start looking at integration. And I would even say before you start looking at an app, like these are the three really, really important pieces.
I would agree. I mean, you really definitely hit it on the nail there. I think if you think about like, what is the purpose of an accounting system, right? You want data and reporting eventually out of it to tell you what your business is doing, reporting for taxes and so forth. And that data doesn't mean all the little details that every single thing that you have on another system to be imported into QuickBooks. It's just like if you have the summarized data, then that's easier. It gives you the right reports, and really that's all you need. You don't need to clutter it up.
Yeah.
And Murph just made a point in chat too, and he was saying that it needs to be a clean trail. So one of the things that, that means to me is that it needs to have sometimes a transaction number associated with it, or sometimes whenever there's a push, sometimes there's an image that goes in, or sometimes that goes in and there needs to be, just some extra, details that go in there to be able to say these all tie into each other.
Yes.
And so if it's going in and if it's not clean, if it doesn't tie out, well, that is unhelpful.
It's unhelpful and it's dangerous, in my opinion, because, if you go under audit and you're trying to substantiate numbers that you're reporting to outside parties or to the IRS, and you can't substantiate that easily from a third-party system, your job is that much harder. So it is so important. And I think as accounting professionals, we need to understand that our app developer friends, they do most of the time, or if they're good apps, do leave us those breadcrumbs, and we need to understand where those are and
where they come from and how to research them. I think that's important because there are, of course, it's technology, so things go wrong, right? There's a bump.
Yeah.
And so we need to be able to understand when things go wrong, how do you troubleshoot it?
Yes.
So I like this next slide that you've got here because this is real world, right? So
it is. So, you have your app on the left there, is your app with all of the detailed data about a transaction. So for example, perhaps it's an inventory app. And so we have the details about the the stock going in and going out, and the app that we're bringing into the app that's bringing that data into the accounting system is just bringing a small piece, right? And so we need to be thinking of that app as an extension of the accounting system and know that it has its little place inside of that whole ecosystem. So yeah, and we don't need to have all those details, but what we do need to have is we need to have reliability so that when I look at that number one, that it ties back to all of the pieces in that originating app, and I'm able to, you know, to find it. So absolutely. Right. And if you imagine a bunch of apps for a company, then you're going to see that accounting system fill up with different colors as they fill out each business process in the organization.
Yeah, Jason and I were just talking about this today, that, you know, in today's accounting, you typically would have several apps that you may need to connect to QuickBooks, you know, 5, 6, 7 apps or whatever it is for different kinds, modules of what your business needs. And, you know, if you start importing every single detail from all of those apps, it's just going to be, you know, overwhelming. Yeah. With details. So all you need is that bring in that summary entry, like you said, you know, as part of your accounting system, but all of those details sits in the other system. Right. So yeah, so that's a much cleaner way to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so mapping the data, make sure that it's integrated well, and then, you know, apps like Bookkeep and Zapier, make sure that you're filling in all of those gaps. And so that's really important to us whenever we're thinking about, we're not going to have an integration directly to QuickBooks that either is automatically built out or that we like. So that's why it's really important for us to be able to go out and start looking for all of these different, you know, connector apps or buffer apps or integration apps, whatever it is that you want to call them. That's where, you know, as accountants and bookkeepers, this is where our role has become, you know, trying to find these types of apps. So I think that this is the new generation of apps is seeing what's available to us.
Yeah.
And then here's a really good scenario that you've got, Heather,
yeah, so I built this out for a client that I actually just worked with recently, and they were using a very popular workflow app to manage their team. They were a social media marketing firm. And so they were using a very popular workflow app, and what was happening with them is they had their estimating in a Google Sheet. So they had their estimating in a Google Sheet which they were sharing out with their clients, and that was kind of the client-facing doc and how they work together. And so what was happening was the workflow app that they were using, they would create an estimate in the Google Sheet, they would go do the work, and then when it was time to bill, what happened? They'd have to go look at the reports in the workflow app to figure out what actually got done. Then they'd have to go back to the Google Sheet and look at what did they estimate, and then they'd have to reconcile it, go into QuickBooks, and then create the transaction, the invoice for the work. So what they were looking for is they were looking for a solution to streamline that. So we found another workflow app which was very, very similar to the one they were already using that had estimates built in. So we had that become the source for their estimates, right? So that became basically the primary source of record. It would create the estimates. They had the ability to turn the estimate into a project, track time against it, put budgets in, collect all the data. It gave us all the cost reporting, and then it would send the invoices back to the accounting system into AR. Then they wanted to use QuickBooks Payments, even though this other system had the ability to send the invoices to the customer and have the customer pay through their payment processor. The reason they wanted to use the payments in QuickBooks was because they love the smart invoicing feature in QuickBooks, where they can open up the smart invoicing page in the sales center and see when the customers had received the invoice, when they had paid it, and when the money was going to be deposited. So what we did is, because we had control with this app over what data was going back and forth, we were able to configure it so the invoices go to the accounting system, then QuickBooks integrates with QuickBooks Payments, which sends the payment to the customer pays it, it gets recorded back in QuickBooks, and then sends the payment status back to the workflow app and updates that record. So in this case, we do have a one-to-one, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because there's a feature in QuickBooks that they wanted to utilize, and that worked for them. But now we've eliminated the duplicate entry and the reconciliation. Everything's happening very streamlined. So if you go to the next slide, Another way, when we're talking about multiple apps, is perhaps they needed time tracking, and they needed the time tracking. I was just talking to somebody else about this situation where a lot of times we're tracking time and we need that time in different places. So perhaps we need time that's going to go into the workflow app, but then I also need that time to go into payroll, right, to pay my employees. So in this case, time data is needed in both systems. The workflow app needs it for the job costing reports. The accounting system needs it for payroll. So now we've got it syncing into two places. And then if you go to the next slide, we can actually see all of these apps in working together, right, to build out that entire workflow, both for their time, their job costing, and their their payroll and their payments and their AR. So this was just an example that I put together to show you how we can get apps to work together, but also how important it is to be mapping how that data is flowing through each of the apps so that we end up with an automated system that's actually, that's validating, that you can validate the data.
And I mean, in your case, I think it's cute. I mean, this is a Rubik's Cube in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all the different things that are happening around it. But somehow we need to make sure that each of our clients, we're mapping it out and saying, all right, here's the different things that are happening and how are they going and pointing to QuickBooks. And so
they do. And, inside the Rubik's Cube, we have all the different components in QuickBooks. Those are talking to each other. So we know that's the relational database that when I update a payment in QuickBooks is going to automatically update my cash. I don't have to worry about that. But when we start to go outside of QuickBooks, then it gets a little more challenging because we have to understand how the data is going to flow between multiple apps and into QuickBooks and out of QuickBooks.
And this is another scenario that of course is a real scenario for many of us as well.
Yeah, so this was for a company that was handling memberships and rentals for their organization. And so we found a really great app. It's called Find You, FINDJOO. And it handles the membership, works with their website. It does rentals of the rooms that they rent out to their members. And it also handles the classes that they offer in their and I think it's kind of like fitness, right? Fitness and community center.
Yeah.
And so in this case, we wanted to automate the memberships and we wanted to automate the rentals. So we found this great app, Find You, which worked really well, integrated with the website really easily, and it will bring in the sales data into QuickBooks. It also works with Square. So when somebody goes on their website and they renew their membership, right, it will go out to Square and charge their credit card, and then that payment will go back to Find You. And the sales receipt will come in, but guess what? The fees don't come in, which makes us sad, right? And in this case, we don't have a summary option with this particular tool. It would be nice if we did, because we don't really need all of that membership information in both places, but they don't offer that. And it was a great app, so you do with what you can, right? So what I did is I created a Zap, which integrates with both Square and with QuickBooks, and I was able to just bring in the fees. And so I created a clearing account, Square clearing account. Sales receipts go in, right? And this actually is the change log where I can see the transactions being pushed over to QuickBooks. So you can see that on the third line, it's getting pushed over to QuickBooks. Then these get pushed over. If you want to show the next screen, I'll show you my Zap. So this is the Zap where the new transaction that's the trigger in Zapier from Square. And then it does a little calculation because Square brings in the fees in a really funky format. So I have to convert it into, add a decimal to it. And then it creates the expense in QuickBooks Online. And what I end up with in QuickBooks on the next screen is a beautiful bank register where you can see the transactions coming in from Find You. You can see the fees coming in from Zapier, and you can see that the deposits going into the bank account are coming right for the bank feed.
Ooh.
And they reconcile beautiful.
That's a zero. That's a nice number.
Yeah, it's a nice number.
Yeah.
So this steps.
If I could just mention one of our apps, Square, does bring in payments with the fees broken out. But I'll tell you about that later.
Yes, yes.
And it's for those people who say, okay, Zapier is awesome, Heather. But maybe they don't want to do Zapier, or they want to see some other options out there. But
definitely.
I I think choices are always good. Oh, and here's your reconciliation. This is awesome.
Oh yes, this is my reconciliation. Isn't it beautiful?
Yep.
Isn't that the most beautiful reconciliation you've ever seen?
Anytime that there's zero, they're beautiful.
And it's even nicer when you just hit reconcile and it's.
I know.
I know, that's even better, right?
All of the little, like, it pulls it in automatically. Those are the best.
Right.
Those are the.
And Find You is actually Canadian. I was just writing that, and I misspelled Canadian, Tiffany. Don't be mad at me. But they're from Montreal. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's our golden rules.
Golden rules of app integration. I feel like there should be some sound effects here, like no. All right, Liz, I'm going to let you read the first rule.
Okay.
I'm not going to let you. I'm going to ask you to.
I didn't even question it. Okay. Map the data flow. So just like you were doing with your Rubik's Cube. Oh my gosh. Understand which direction is the data going to flow. Make sure that you understand, is the data flowing and how do you want it to flow?
Right?
Yep.
Maximize the reporting feature. There's reporting in these other apps that you're using. And typically you can create a report that will tie out to the entries that are going into QuickBooks. So use those, and those will make your life easier, and document where they are so that your team can easily find them.
Keeping it simple. I'm going to tie back to what you just said. So sometimes keeping it simple means using your apps for reporting, which means that sometimes in the scenario, if it's a point of sale system, you can go back to that point of sale system and get all the sales data that you need, or all the inventory data that you need, and you don't have to get that in QuickBooks. So keep it simple.
Absolutely. Validate the integration. So just because you've connected the app doesn't mean that you validated the integration. So for example, with Find You, one of the things that happened to this particular client was that some of my sales receipts didn't come over. But if I had not validated that, I wouldn't have known, and we would have been missing sales. So make sure that you're validating the information, and don't validate it just one time. We were talking about this yesterday, Ruth, right? We were saying just because it syncs over correctly once doesn't mean that it's going to continue to sync over correctly. So you need to actually do multiple tests and try to do multiple scenarios, right, that are going to happen with the workflow to make sure that it's going to be consistent. And then you're going to feel like, yes, it's been validated. But the validation comes through reconciliation. It comes through coming up with a reporting process to validate that the amounts in QuickBooks actually match the amounts in the other app.
Yeah, that's always part of the month-end close process, is you validate that, because apps do break, things change, APIs change, and when those change, it could cause some disruption. So just make sure you check. Yeah, at least once a month at month-end is what I do.
I'm going to go ahead and say one of the things that's nice about using an app that's built for integrations is that like Bookkeep knows that whenever there's an API change, that across the board. And so a lot of times whenever you build an integration as yourself, you don't always know that there's a change that quickly. And so as a whenever you're subscribing to one of these integration softwares, they fix those and usually push out an update, and you don't even always know that it happened. Or they send you an email and they say, hey, this happened, just want to make you aware, you may need to go in and make a tweak. So that's one of the things that you're subscribing to. So communication with software, that actually went right into that.
Yeah, so. and the happy story was I reached out to Find You and told them what happened. They said, oh, within 10 minutes they had fixed it. They said, oh, we just need to turn off this one tag. We just pushed it through. My transactions came in. It was a beautiful thing. So
that's awesome.
Communication, right?
It's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So communication back and forth, letting each other know. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm ready for a drink. I feel like I've been talking, so I'm parched.
Yeah. You're parched?
Parched.
I am.
I love what you are doing, Ruth, you and Bookkeep. I love what you guys are doing. I can't wait to show everybody on this call what you've put together and what's on the roadmap. So here's to bookkeep.com and
cheers.
And here's what we're drinking.
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh, yummy.
That tastes good.
Oh yeah. Good.
I'm gonna go in for a second.
Yeah. I'm gonna have one right after this.
So that's January. It's very refreshing.
It is very, very refreshing.
Yeah. The mint in there was exactly the kind of kick I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back. I think that, it's nice that you've been joining us in the conversation, Ruth. So I'm just going to make sure that everybody knows you're the CEO of Bookkeep and that Jason's around here with us. So he might chime in from time to time, but
You want to say hi?
there he is.
There he
We saw
goes.
his arm. So nice arm, Jason.
There's Jason. He's there.
Hi, Jason.
Thanks for joining us. So I'm the slide forward deck pusher. So you just tell me when you're ready to forward, and I'm going to go ahead and get to the next one right there.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks so much. And so we have two main products right now that we've released in the marketplace. We have other ones that we haven't released yet, and we'll talk about that a little later. We have the Shopify integration with QuickBooks and also the Square app integration with QuickBooks. And what we do specifically with them is that we summarize all the transactions for each day and post one entry into QuickBooks. So as we've been saying all along today is that you don't want to bring in every single transaction. And, that's what we feel. That was a pain point that we came through, and that's why we started building this. And, some of we have Square customers that have hundreds of transactions a day. And if you think about, if you're going to import all of those within the month, it's going to get pretty crazy in QuickBooks. So those are the two main products we have, and we can go through. They do basically the same thing, is summarize the daily transactions and put it into one entry and put into QuickBooks Online.
And I can't tell you, Ruth, how many times, and I'm sure, Liz, you would agree with this, how many times I hear that from accounting professionals. We just want the summary data, and we haven't been able to get that from Square in a consistent and reliable way. So this is a huge need.
Well, and Square's another one of those that's in the restaurants. And oh my gosh, do you want to have every single mojito that's rang up or every single tea that's rang up? Oh my gosh, no. So
yeah, we have
example.
We have cafe restaurants that, it's like $5 a transaction, and they run it all day long, right? So that's when you get several hundred a day, thousands, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, and Shopify and Square, those are two big, platforms that our clients are using. So
Right, let's take a look at those. If we could go to the next slide. Speaking of Shopify, this is how big they are. There are 820 merchants using Shopify. And there's also, for some of us who didn't know, is like, they also have a point of sale system. So over 100,000 of those people use their point of sale system, either in their brick and mortar store, in addition to the online, and mostly in that situation. And then 80% of those merchants use a third-party apps. So you can see that, even though you have Shopify and you have QuickBooks, you need other things a lot of times to really complete your needs in really becoming an efficient business. So they do, most of them do use third-party apps. And there are $41 billion of sales on Shopify in 2018. That's like giant. And then it's the third largest retailer after Amazon and Etsy. So this was a bit of surprise to me, because I didn't think Etsy was the second largest after Amazon, right? I mean, I think Shopify is definitely growing and bigger, but Etsy was, they've got a lot of smaller sellers is what I'm thinking. And we were talking yesterday, and it's guys, I guess you measure it, it's the second largest in terms of merchants or in terms of the dollar sales on the platform. So I do have customers that, have Etsy as one of the channels, but very small amounts on it. But so anyways, it's, the data shows that they're the second largest retailer platform. And in terms of Square, there are 3 or 4 million sellers on Square, or merchants, and they process $100 billion worth of payment processing on Square. So they are as much as a payment processor as a point of sale system and for the front end system. So, we mentioned that a lot of the restaurants and coffee shops, and I guess mostly not the type of sit-down restaurants, but counter service restaurants, right? If you go out and get a piece of pizza or that type of food service, almost a quarter of them are in food and drinks. And then the next one is retail. So those are your retail stores that have a point of sale or swipe kind of thing, and professional services, and then beauty and personal care, and health and fitness, and this, home repair. That's a bit of a surprise, because I didn't think that home repair was that big a business, but it is almost 9% of what the Square users are, and then all the other or 13%. So this is like a nice chart of looking at who actually what type of maybe your clients that use Square, right? Okay, if we go to the next slide. All right, so there are right now, actually quite a few apps in the marketplace, but they don't all do the things neatly and nicely as we would have liked them to be, and that's why we built our own apps. And almost all of these are integrations that integrate at transaction level, meaning that they bring every single transaction into QBO. And that, we've been talking, is that too much data? It just actually duplicates exactly what you have in Shopify, exactly what you have in Square, and put all of that into QuickBooks. And there's really no need to do that when you don't really need to duplicate every one of those transactions. And the other downside some of them have is that they don't really reconcile your payouts. So you get a payment, for example, from Square, and you can't really match to your sales or your, because the fees come out of it, you don't know what piece of that is. And then they also take out, some of them had Square Capital loan payments that are netted against their payouts. So all those pieces, if you're not reconciling those, you won't be able to really know, how many if you're getting the money that you're supposed to.
That's a biggie. And so that's one of those things as a accountant, I feel like our clients forget to mention those things happen. And so they don't even say, oh, I have this loan that is being drafted from. And so you don't even know that exists. And so something like this that's going into the API and automatically grabbing that draft, so you're seeing it and know the actual loan payment is
right.
Really, really nice, because our lovely clients forget to tell us.
Yes, they do that, and and they make it, Square and Shopify make it so easy for them to get loans these days. It only takes a few minutes, because they know that they can take it out of your payments.
Exactly, I agree.
And they are the first one to get paid back. So they make it so easy, and therefore, your clients just go, okay, let's do that, and they forget to tell you.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can go, so let's just take a look at why, it's bad, and how the integration at transaction level really affects your books. So we all know that accounting system is a double entry accounting system, right? So every number that you bring in really is 2 lines of entry, right? So if you have, for example, 50 transactions, just 50 a day, and that's 2 lines, and times 30 days, that's 3,000 lines a month. And if you have 500 transactions a day, like some of the cafes we're talking about, you end up actually with 30,000 lines of data or entries into QuickBooks. And that just really slows down how things work, especially when you run reports, right? If you want to run a report and say, oh, I'm going to look at a different period, and you change the days, and you got to let it, resort through all of those 30,000 lines. If you have, that's how many you have. So it really slows things down. And it's really hard to find, if you think that, oh, I need to know, if some of these transactions are missing, I don't know what, and you go look through all the days, it's just impossible to really look through all of those 30,000 lines of transactions. And, you know, we
And
talked
it's
about,
useless. And I mean,
yeah,
that really, to us, it doesn't mean anything. Why do we need to know Joe Bob bought a
Right.
humdinger for his whatchamacallit?
Especially when you have it somewhere else, right?
that's
When you
right,
have it,
exactly.
you can go into another system and look it up.
That's
So you
right.
don't need it in another place.
We're not doing CRM stuff in QuickBooks, so I agree. It's not helpful.
Right.
No.
So, yeah, so simplify, just get what you need in a readable fashion, then that's the best thing for QuickBooks. And it gives you the reporting data that you need. So, okay, we can jump to the next one. Yeah, we just wanted to, like, you know, tell some of your audience that, you know, our experience of some of the other pain points that we ran into as bookkeepers and some of the other apps that automation that we started building. And just to, you know, pique your guys' interest, if you have the same pain points, please let us know. We're here to build stuff. So if you have anything and say, oh, I wish I had that, I wish I had that, please email us or let us know that, you know, we can really, Jason will be in heaven when he can build new stuff. So some of the pain points we ran into is like, especially with now restaurants, right? Restaurants started to use all these delivery apps that each in itself is another entry. You got to pull reports. You got to, you know, you got to integrate them if you can to automate that. So they would have, like most would have a main point of sale system. They could have Square. They could have, you know, Breadcrumb, Upserve. There's a ton of different point of sale systems for food services. And then they would have Grubhub and Seamless. You know, everybody has Grubhub, right? If you're a restaurant, you gotta have Grubhub. ChowNow, Relay Delivery, Drizzly, just to name a few. You know, each one of our restaurant customers have at least 5 of those. And they have no way of knowing what their sales are in one place unless they're put into QuickBooks. And the problem here you get is that you have to integrate all of those apps in order to get that data, or you have to go to the reports, you have to run it, you have to then enter the manual data, and you just can't do that on a daily basis. And, you know, you end up doing it once a month at the best. And a lot of these is like, you know, how do you go get fees and the gift card elements? How do you break those out? And the one big pain I think we all know is that you got to get logins to all those apps, platforms, and it takes forever to get those set up. So that's just, you know, some of the pain points that we're building solutions for. And we do have some of the other apps working right now as well. So, okay, to summarize, what our products do is simplifies. We book 1 sales entry per day into QuickBooks. And there's actually 2 entries. One is the sales entry, and the other is the payment entry. So we don't just do the sales, but when the payments come in, we reconcile that, we break out the fees, and we break out the loan payments. And when it gets into QuickBooks and you see it coming through the bank fee, all you need to do is match them. So it's already done for you, and you just do the match. And it's accurate. We put the liabilities in the right places, right? Revenues in the right places, expenses in the right places. So, you know, if you have gift cards, you have sales tax, those are liabilities. And also tips, those don't go into expenses. There are kind of liability to pay to your employees, and that's offset against the salaries, which we typically do from your payroll system. And loan payments, so, you know, all those various types of accounts are categorized correctly. And one other thing is that we've heard from a lot of users that is that, what if I have you know, 3 cafes in 3 different locations? We can do that. You can connect, you know, we have the class feature or the location feature that you can use, that if they connect to the same QuickBooks account, then you can set that all up. or you have multiple Shopify stores and a lot of sellers that want to have different brands and different stores. For example, I have a client that has 11 Shopify stores. So you say, oh, can I do that? I say, yes, you can do that. And as long as they connect to the same QuickBooks Online account. And he was using the class feature. So that all works out pretty well for him. So,
that's a really good example of why you need something like this. Could you possibly imagine having 11 Shopify stores connecting to one QuickBooks Online account?
And remember, imagine the reporting. I mean, the ability to be able to map each store to a different class or location will simplify the reporting. So they're very quickly able to see where the sales are coming from. That's fabulous. And I can also imagine that use case with the different channels like Grubhub and Drizzly, things like that. That would be really helpful as well.
Yep. So, so what's on the next slide?
Preview. And so
preview.
I don't know if you've been watching chat, but everybody's like, does it do this? Does it do that? So they are excited.
Okay. So I want to take you through some screenshots of what the product itself is really just looks really simple and easy to use. All the hard work is in the background that we've done already. So let's take a look. Let's go to the next slide. So this is what it looks like on our platform when you sign in or sign up. And what you can do is you notice that the Intuit sign in there at the bottom, you don't have to create a separate sign in there. You can just actually use your Intuit sign in right there and get to our platform. And here is, I don't know if you can all see it clearly, this is the account mapping. So we, on the left are what comes through in Square, and on the right is your chart of accounts in QuickBooks. So all you need to do is hit the drop down and map those to the account that you want to map. And if you don't have that account set up already, there's a little magic pencil or magic wand to the right of that box, the drop-down menu. Yep. And it will create the QuickBooks account for you right there. So you don't have to leave our app and go create it and come back. So it would just create for you. It will sync with QuickBooks. So that is also available. And, you can look at all the different elements that you're going to map, like refunds, discounts, gift cards, sales taxes, tips, and you have the different types of tender, the different types of payments coming in. And, so that's how it works. And we have something really exciting that I think we're going to release. Jason can tell me probably in the next day or two. Is
we can tell you.
So it's we're going to have a one-click setup. So what you do have the choice of mapping your accounts. I know a lot of us bookkeepers and accountants want to do it our way. We know our chart of accounts, but not everybody knows exactly where those should go or how it should be mapped. So we have a one-click setup. Is all you need to do is tell us where your bank account is in your QuickBooks Online, and then we create all the other accounts and set it up and map automatically for you. And that's our one-click setup. That's going to be coming out in like a couple weeks, couple of days. Sorry.
And I love that you've done this. So we understand our debits and our credits here. And so, right here, you've got your sales, your Square sales, and then you've got some of these things here that tells you, we had some questions in chat about sales tax. And this is where you could come over and you could map your sales tax.
Right. And it knows to go to the liability account, not to an expense account or, anywhere else. And make sure that, our app makes sure that the entry balances. So if it doesn't balance, it won't go through.
And look at those gift cards right there. I mean,
And only an accountant would have put that debit credit column there. So thank you, Ruth.
Winner, winner. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide because that makes me happy. But
Okay,
we have some questions about classes and locations. So
okay, so this is the other side of the mapping, whereas you could actually set your start and end date because some restaurants or bars, you may want to end it at 4 in the morning. So you can set what your day is in terms of how you want to capture the transactions. So, and here's where you map the class. And then you also have the location. So you can do either one or both. So, whatever you use, there you can do it. So that's the class thing. And then if you go to the next slide.
And then I'm going to say, ask Jason in chat. There's a question that Tiffany has. And so I'm going to ask if he wants to look at that question while I advance the next slide.
I would answer questions, but it won't let me type.
Oh.
I can only write to all panel.
Okay.
Well, so we might answer that here in just a second.
Okay.
Oh wait, now it's working.
Okay, good. Tiffany, your answer's coming. All right. There's the next slide.
Okay. So this is the payment entry slide. So this is your payouts, right? That's when the money actually comes in to your bank account, and it clears out. It can be booked to any clearing accounts that you map to or create. So in this case, it was a Square set up as a bank account. And your fees, so it goes to Square fees. And then any loan payments that we talked about goes directly to the loan account. And any other things that, sometimes the deposits that are held, whatever it is, and that's where it will go. So that's the payment. So once you map this and the entry happens, it's going to match in your bank feed. That's just simple as that.
That's great. I'll go ahead and advance to the next slide so you can see what it looks like.
All right. So this is what the journal entry looks like in QuickBooks. So you can see that entry. This is actually the sales entry. So you have the sales, you have the sales tax, and you have the clearing accounts, and you have operating funds, which is actually their cash account, and any gift card liability and stuff like that. So I just want to, I know some of you may have some questions. You might notice that this is a journal entry format, and if you're a bookkeeper or accountant, you're going to ask, like, can I get this in sales receipts format or a sales invoice format? And we've talked to a lot of accountants, and they say, yes, they want that option. So we are in the process of making that happen.
Yeah, I want to just add, I'm getting feedback here, but you can't see everything here, but to your point about your breadcrumbs, in our app, we have a log page. So everything we do to your QuickBooks is logged on that page with a link directly to the entry. So when we post this journal entry, it shows up in our log. You can click on the link. It'll take you straight here. In addition, when we create accounts, there's even a little icon that allows you to delete it right away in case you screw it up or somebody screws it up. But basically, I know I've been using QuickBooks for 15 years, QuickBooks Online. I know what a mess it can be. So everything I build can be reversed.
Just in case.
And then at the bottom of this entry there, in the memo field, unfortunately I can't make it a link, but this particular entry, Square doesn't have a direct link to its report for that particular day, but the deposit does. So when we post deposits, you can click on the link, it'll take you straight to Square. You can see the exact same data that we posted to QuickBooks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
In addition, you get an email that'll have a link to this journal entry as well as a link to the Square report in the same email with the exact details in this journal entry as a report.
Right.
So will that be the next screen, Ruth?
Let's go to the next screen and see. So I just want to show you that once you map the payments, every day you're going to see this match in your bank fee, and all you do is hit the match.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I love that match.
I love it too.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Okay, so the next, let's see what we have.
These are our upcoming features.
Okay.
And
Okay,
so
you
we had
answered
somebody
one of
ask specifically about Stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did.
So these are exciting things that are coming up. Booking sales as invoice and sales receipts. We know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers would love that. If they'll be able to use the dashboard feature in QuickBooks Online or using another. I know some bookkeepers use other tools to do their reporting and their own sort of white label dashboard for their clients. So that's will be available. And one-click setup that's coming up in the next couple of days. And also I want all of you to know that we do have a partner program, and that's works kind of like the QuickBooks Online wholesale program for accountants. And that is available with 40% discount to you all, bookkeepers and accountants. And you can choose to give that to your clients, or you can choose to charge whatever you want, and and you just pay at the discounted price. So looking forward to having a lot of partners, you guys.
I'm gonna jump in and just put our poll up while you're talking through this last slide. Is that okay?
I haven't finished the other. Can we just go back to the last?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So the other one is we're going to have a PayPal integration for people that use Shopify that uses PayPal. And we're going to have a Grubhub release, Upserve Breadcrumb point of sale, Shopkeep point of sale, Telec point of sale, and another PayPal integration. Hopefully that picks up the other pieces, and also Stripe.
Nice.
Okay, so now we're ready for the.
I'm going to do a poll. So if you guys would like Ruth to reach out to you for more information about Bookkeep, go ahead and vote in this poll, and I will send her your information so that you can get information about the partner program and get that set up for you. So I'm just going to leave that up for just about a minute. Oh, we're getting some great responses. Fantastic.
That's great.
Awesome.
Awesome. And please, if you have any pain points, because I know you guys are day in and day out with bookkeeping, we'd love to hear from you what you'd like to see being built. So yeah, that's what we're here for.
Fantastic. And you have a discount code, right, for a free month?
We do. If you want to get started right away, it's the discount, the promo code. Surprise, called Happy Hour.
Awesome.
So I should have called it Mojito.
We like Happy Hour. We like Happy Hour.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So,
awesome.
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll in just about 3 seconds. So if you guys could vote, if you have not already, that's fantastic. We have a lot of people interested to learn more, Ruth. So
all right. Awesome.
I will get you their contact information later today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. We are right about at the top of the hour. I wanted to share very quickly, if you want to,
do we
speak to the slide, and then I'll go ahead and share my next slide.
Do we want to go ahead and just talk about what's happening next and just skip our coolest thing, Heather, since it's 5 or
sure, yeah. So let's head over to what's coming next.
Because then we can just talk about this other thing later.
Yes. So we have a brand new website. So if you guys are interested in checking it out, we're very proud of it. It's glittery.
Gorgeous.
So please do check it out. We also changed our URL. So you can still find us at QB Happy Hour, but you can also find us now at The Happy Hour. So we'd love to see you come over there. You can watch our episodes. You can read our blog and connect with us there. So please do that. And I'm going to let you see the next slide.
Tiffany's saying, don't skip it. Don't worry, Tiffany. We'll save it. But there's so many people that always have to go at the top of hour that we want to be.
So we'll do it after the,
So we love it whenever you connect with us on Facebook and like us on Twitter. No, like us on Facebook, connect with us on Twitter. So following. So
we're on Instagram too now.
Oh, we do have Instagram, and we actually have LinkedIn. Dun. So our upcoming episodes are super exciting. Oh my God.
They are.
We're going to have Laura Redmond join us. So on January 28th, she's going to be talking about accounting firm workflows. And so what's the difference between a CRM and your workflow tool? What are they supposed to do for you? And so what exactly does Arrow Workflow do? That's a hot topic. This is a brand new year. So if you're looking for a tool that can help manage your internal workflow systems, make sure to join us. Yes. And then Transaction Pro. So a lot of you have heard that we've got Right Networks that is our sponsor. And so we want to make sure that a lot of you are up on the news about what all the different offerings and tools are. And so Transaction Pro is one of the products that Right Networks has got to offer. So we're going to be showing that tool, and then Net Tracker and AR Collect. And then we're going to be doing a really cool thing. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into an app. How do you connect it? What's some lesser known things, some troubleshooting, and some things that the users are saying are their favorite features.
Yep. And
then Commerce Sync. So that's our schedule coming up for the next month and a half. So thank you, Ruth and Jason from Bookkeep.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was amazing. We have so much excitement about Bookkeep, and I love what you're doing. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with all of us, and really excited. And also a huge thank you to our Champagne level sponsor, Right Networks. We'll be having Transaction Pro by Right Networks on the show in just a couple weeks. So fantastic.
Yes, I agree. Oh, and Murph is saying, don't forget to vote for the top 100 nominations tomorrow.
Yes, you need to nominate your favorite pro advisors.
Nominate Yep. He's put it in our chats. So nominate your top pro advisor for the top 100.
And you can nominate yourself too. So and nominate yourself. Like totally go out there and nominate yourself.
There's no shame in that.
You guys, no, absolutely not. So we're going to stick around and do our coolest thing for those of you that want to stay on with us. And for the rest of you, I know we're at the top of the hour. Huge thank you to Ruth and to Jason. And we'll see you guys soon. And I will be getting you that list really soon.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and do our coolest thing. And our coolest thing this month, as I was putting together all of our social media posts and all the stuff that I do, I'm like, you know what? Our coolest thing is Canva. So I know a lot of you use Canva, but if you haven't used Canva, it's $12.95 per month, and it's amazing. And it kind of can turn pretty much anybody into a graphic designer. So they have tons and tons of templates. Once you sign up for Canva, they have templates that are already in the different sizes, like a Facebook post, a business card, a flyer, a presentation.
I use it even internally in my firm. So believe it or not, so we have team weekly meetings. And so, instead of just saying in a text, blah, 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 team meeting this day, I actually use Canva to say, this is our team meeting day, and it's pretty. And it just makes it visually interesting. So, something to just draw your eye to say, hey, this is happening. Accounting Lifeline's having a meeting.
Yeah, and these infographics, so these templates are all in here. And the cool thing is once you open up the template in the editor, you can upload your logo, you can upload images of your own, and you just fill in, basically you just drag and drop into the different places, and you have this really professional looking asset that you can share out with your clients. So these are just some of the ones that we have done over the past month or so for my account, and it's super easy to use. Like I said, it's only $12 a month, which is kind of awesome. And you can also create a brand kit. So I've started like stretching my Canva knowledge. And so I've created a brand kit, which basically you're able to go in and put in the colors from your website and your business card. And then those are the default colors in Canva, and it saves you a lot of time. So everything's matchy-matchy.
Yep, and it keeps you consistent. So,
yeah.
So any of these backgrounds that you say, hey, I want these to be my font colors, or my brand colors, and even your font styles. If you've got it font style that's in your logo, you can upload that to Canva if they don't already have it, and then
you can
save that as your brand asset.
Definitely, and you can have multiple
Okay,
brand
brand
kits. Like
kit.
I know Tiffany, you've got Tiffany's got she's got a couple companies, and then she's got a Facebook group, and so she can go in and set up a brand kit for each one of those entities that she's involved with all of their different colors. And so we do that because I have Satterley Consulting and Back Office Ally and Happy Hour, and Liz, you've got Accounting Lifeline and QB Talks and all kinds of stuff going on. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So
Um,
I think it makes you look like you're a social media star
I agree.
whenever
And
you're an accountant.
yeah, right,
That's not
right.
easy to do, right?
Yeah, and you can create templates that, we have templates that we've created that we just use over. And then once we've created the templates, we can actually delegate that to some of our staff. So it's pretty cool. I dig it. I dig it.
I agree. I
It is
agree.
the
So
coolest thing this month.
that's what we wanted to share. And then we had one other person who was saying, hey, can you put back up our schedule? So
Yeah,
I will forward this to our schedule, and here's our schedule right there.
awesome. And we have more after March 24th. It's just we ran out of room. So we've got Vic AI. So we got Vic AI coming on May 12th. We have, who do we have in
Actually
April?
booked
We have
all the way through July. So
all the way through July. We have ADP joining us again. We have Practice Ignition.
yep, PI's coming on.
And then
Good one.
yeah, so we've got lots of really cool apps coming on. So super excited. Thank you, Julie. Thanks for joining us today. I'm glad that today I felt like this was an awesome session. I'm so excited about bookkeep.com. Excited for all of the great functionality it will bring to our clients.
Thanks for staying, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.